Hello, my wonderful, beautiful friends, guys. Welcome back to our /IDontWorkHereLady, where some people seem to think that everyone on Earth is meant to serve them. And in today's episode, entitled people are at it again, guys. We've got Karens attacking people with groceries, stalking people, and one OP tells a story about the time this smug, rich Karen demanded they serve her and she regrets it big time. Guys, the stories are wild in this episode, so sit back, relax, and seriously don't shake your heads too hard at some of these. Let's dive in. So here's some minor background. I live in Quebec, a land of two dominant languages, French and English. I myself am English, but I know enough French to have a polite conversation. Yesterday, I decided to do a grocery run on my way home from work. Since I use public transit, I tend to take a taxi home when I do groceries, and I invite my friend along for the ride since she lives nearby. I get to the grocery store and my friend's nowhere to be seen, so I grab a cart and I wait near the entrance where I'll certainly be seen. I pop in my earbuds, start blasting some dance music, and have a little one-person dance party as I'm waiting for my friend to show up. As I'm jamming out, I notice that every person leaving the grocery store is leaving their carts near me instead of putting them away. So I start moving a few feet away every time I start to get surrounded. After a few more attempts to box me in are made, I'm moving carts out of the way when I can hear this older woman shouting at me. Now, in her defense, she may have been talking to me for a minute or two, but as I said, I'm a one-person dance party over here. So I pop out an earbud and I realize the lady's yelling at me in heavily accented French. I do a quick double check to make sure I'm not doing anything illegal. I assume she's blaming me for the carts that are strung around. Having just finished a long day of work and not wanting to put in the effort to find out, I just simply tell her, "I'm sorry, I don't understand," in a heavy English accent before popping back in my earbud and continuing my dance party. Everything's going fine until something heavy and soft smacks me in the back of the head. I turn around and I can see the same lady standing there with a smirk on her face. It then registers that she had swung her bag of groceries containing iceberg lettuce among other things at my head, and the bag split open, scattering the contents all over the ground. Not only that, but she also knocked both earbuds out. She now has my full attention, and I listen to her complain about how lazy the store's cart wranglers are, and she's telling me to pick up her groceries. Now, getting hit by a head of lettuce does sound painful, but it's closer to being hit by a particularly heavy pillow, so I'm not in pain or anything. But the audacity of this one lady to attack me and then order me around even if I had worked there has me livid. So I respond in the following manner. I scream at her and I say, "What the heck, lady? You frickin' hit me in the head and you try to order me around? What's your problem, you crazy witch?" I then switch over to French and I share my favorite French insults just in case she's not getting the point. The lady immediately realizes her mistake and she begins mumbling, "I'm sorry," as she backed up to her car. My friend shows up shortly after that and we do our groceries as usual, just with a lot more laughter and her assuring me that she will show up on time the next time. I'm just glad to know that OP was okay and was able to laugh about this whole situation. But in all seriousness though, that lady did assault OP from behind. Like, even though OP said it was a light bag containing iceberg lettuce, like the fact that she hit somebody from behind in the head no less is super messed up. And the fact that she only apologized when she found out OP wasn't a retail slave. Guys, what would you have done in this situation? This person comments, "If the lettuce would have been on the ground, I would have kicked it like a soccer ball and told her to fetch because F her." Okay, so this was an I don't work here situation that happened over a decade ago. When I was in university in the UK, I was obsessed with MAC makeup, particularly with collecting every shade of lipstick and all the limited edition packaging. I used to go to the MAC store at least twice a week, just for fun most times, and the makeup artists did know me by name. So now that you know the background, let's begin with the kind of crazy woman. The day this happened, I was wearing denim jeans with sandals. I had no makeup on and I had my backpack since I just finished with classes. Basically, there was no way that I could actually work for Mac, as they all wore black and they had their makeup completely done. The store was crazy busy because a very sought-after collection had just released, and the makeup artists were swamped. That's when in walks a sweet old woman with wide eyes and a big smile. She looks confused, and I can see her struggling with lipsticks, which was my absolute passion at the time. I'm here enough to see how the associates handle this, so when she was trying to wear it straight from the display tube, I walk up to her and I tell her that's not how you do it. You need to sanitize it before you put it on your lips. She didn't know how, and the artists who usually do it were busy, so I helped her. I also helped her pick out some lipstick, since she kept following me around and asking for advice as I browsed. I didn't mind, I wasn't too busy anyways. Basically, looking back on it, I can see why she thought I worked there. I left about 5 minutes after this when she was still in line to pay for her new lipstick in the store. I then met my friends for dinner and I had a couple of drinks. I was out for at least 3 hours after I left the store. A little buzzed and very happy, I began to slowly walk home with my flatmate. As we're walking, I can hear heels behind me, and I assume it's just another pedestrian, so I continue walking. No one called out to us, and the heels followed me all the way to our street, which is 20 minutes at this point. They've been following us for so long that I'm actually a little taken aback. We were both content walking in silence, so the heels were very obvious. I then turn around, but it's too dark for me to see the person, so I say, "Hi," and all I hear is a giggle in response. Now, we thought it was some psycho person, so that's when we lose it and we start running down the street. We're yelling incoherent things to each other when all of a sudden I hear a woman screaming, "No, stop. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to scare you, I'm so sorry." We both stop and stare at this old but tall woman who's hobble running towards us on her clunky heels. She runs straight to me and she stops like 3 feet away and she holds out some money. I'm absolutely shocked at this point, and I'm just looking at her in silence while panting with fear. That's when the woman speaks, and she says, "I never paid you your commission for your sale. I heard you get commission, but you'd left, and I didn't want anyone else to get your money. I did try and chase you down when you left, but I didn't want to disturb your time with your friends. I'm so sorry for bothering you." When she said that, I was just staring at her because I couldn't put it together. I backed up again before it occurs to me that that's the Mac woman. I quickly told her I didn't work there and had no idea what she was talking about. She just kept saying for me to take the money she was holding out. That's when I asked her if she followed me all night, and she said, "Yes, I didn't want to bother you when you were with your friends. I was just hoping that I'd get you alone as you walked back." That's when my flatmate jumped in to say how petrifying this was, and did I mention it was creepy. She said she learned her lesson and she won't ever follow anyone again. She was just so happy with my service. The woman ends up apologizing and she tries to hand me the money anyways. It was £15 for anyone who's wondering. We ended up walking her all the way back to her car as we were young and dumb, and I just laughed about it. She drove a crazy expensive Mercedes that made me take a second glance at her and I realized this woman looked expensive. I don't think she really knew how the world worked outside of her wealthy bubble. She then admitted to us as we walked that this was her first time away from home by herself. Usually, her husband flies in with her as she lives an hour's drive away, and her adopted daughters are away at boarding school in Switzerland. She had never been shopping by herself, and this was her first time in a mall. Suddenly, it made more sense. Yeah, this is absolutely creepy, guys, with a slight twinge of sweet wholesome thrown in there. Like waiting around for OP for 3 hours and then to quietly follow OP as they walk down a dark path for 20 minutes, not saying a darn thing to give them some commission money. Yeah, some people are oblivious on how the rest of the world functions, like use your voice, lady. I'm just glad she didn't end up getting robbed or something. And if you guys thought that post was creepy, listen to what this next OP has to say. So I'm not totally sure if this fits into this sub, but I swear I thought this person who I saw worked there, but I was wrong. I even scrambled up to my feet to get up and address them. And here's a bit of context. This happened 4 years ago. I work in caregiving in what's called an ISL, for the intellectual/mentally disabled population. I do everything from cooking, medication distribution, grocery shopping, housekeeping, adult diaper changing, bathing, all that stuff. Management at the time was iffy, and the office management was brutal. They have what are called pop-ins, where management comes in unannounced to see how we're doing. This helps against theft of meds, money, abusing the disabled, etc. The company could send a manager anytime, and all the doors are unlocked and open overnight. Where I worked was this beautiful, massive 5-bedroom home. I wish I had a house as nice as this one. So that said, on to my I Don't Work Here Lady story/ghost story. I was working a long shift. It was my 11th hour in, but I was fully awake and conscious. I had started my day at 9 in the morning, and when this happened, it was 10 p.m. I also wasn't that tired. I was in the waiting room, taking a break with my shoes off, watching YouTube videos. My female coworker was in the living room, laying down watching TV. The people we support were all asleep, and there were 4. Down the spiral stairs in a mostly dark house comes this younger male. He's thin, aged between 18 and 24. His hair is neat as he passes by the guest room, and he said hello, just like he did on a regular basis. I'd been looking down on my phone and I almost didn't catch it. I say hello back and then thought, oh crap. I scrambled to put my shoes on, put my phone away, and I got up to see where this random pop-in manager went. He had gone down the hallway, but I didn't want to wake the individuals sleeping in their rooms. The managers were required to check up on them upon arrival, so I thought that's what he was doing. I couldn't find him anywhere, so I asked my coworker where this pop-in manager went. She was confused, and she asked, "What manager?" I respond that I clearly saw a man, and he said hello to me, and I said hello back. We then searched the house, and I told her what I saw. And here's the wild part. This dude didn't match any description of any of our individuals, and he essentially vanished down the hallway that had no alternative back door. The only explanation I have was it was a ghostly apparition. My coworker laughed at me after this, and I resigned shortly after, and I moved to a different company for unrelated reasons. And to this day, I do believe what I saw was a ghost. I saw a guy from the corner of my vision walk down a flight of stairs and greet me, and then walk down the hall like he was a pop-in manager. We would have heard him enter either the front or the back, but we didn't. So recently, I had to bring a car to a mechanic to get some work done. My wife and I arrive in separate cars so that she could leave hers with the mechanic and then drive home with me. While I'm waiting in my car, a woman walks up and she asked me, "Is that your red truck over there?" Keep in mind that I was behind the wheel of a car at the moment, so it's kind of an odd thing to ask someone if another vehicle's theirs. Before responding, I look around to see the red truck in question. Now in hindsight, I'm not actually sure why I did that. I don't own a red truck, so no matter which one she's referring to, the answer should have been, no, it isn't. While I'm looking around, she points at one across the street and she said, "Can you fit the washing machine in that?" I hadn't yet caught on that this was an I don't work here lady situation. I just thought that she was asking if a person could fit a washing machine in a red truck of that type. So I reply, "I think you probably could. The bed looks large enough." But that one's kind of full at the moment though, as it had a lot of scrap metal in the bed. I then go on and say, "You might want to ask inside though, because I'm not really truck savvy. I'm just waiting for my wife." The woman then asked, "Well, can you have someone go pick up that washing machine then?" The woman then points to one sitting on the side of the road, 2 houses away. It then clicked what she was mistakenly thinking. She thought I worked at the garage and I was going around picking up scrap metal in a truck, even though I'm in a car. So I respond, "Oh, that's not my truck and I'm not an employee, I'm sorry." She then replies in a snarky tone and she says, "So, go have someone else drive it, what's the problem?" Now, up until this moment, the conversation had been a friendly one. The woman had a pleasant tone to her voice, and my responses were equally pleasant. But her "what's the problem" basically screamed out, "I'm a Karen." So that's when I went into snark mode. "The problem," I replied, "is that you're pointing to a red truck. I'm driving a silver car." Now, since I'm waiting for my wife in this car, not in that truck, you have to understand that I can't just go put something in that truck that I clearly am not operating, nor do I own, while I'm sitting in this car. I said that while smiling sweetly at her. The woman's brow then creased as it had annoyed her. She then says with a pissy attitude, "I'm saying to please either get out of your car and pick up that washing machine with that truck, or please go inside and have someone else do it." By this point, I was amused by this ridiculous conversation, as it was very clear I didn't work there, I was a customer. And that's when I say, well, I don't really tell the people inside the shop what to do, other than saying, my car won't go. And then I pay them to fix it. And this is where apparently she mistook my comment to mean that I pay them because I own the place. She then says, well, maybe you should stop being a crappy owner and you should start telling people what to do if you're paying them. What a crappy business you're running. Look, I just need you to go have someone grab the truck and pick up my washing machine. It's an eyesore. Just go do it for me or have one of your workers come grab it. Why is this such a hassle? At which point, I just said, well, let's examine why. You mistook me for an employee, even though several times I've told you I'm just waiting for my wife. You asked a guy who's sitting behind the wheel of a car if that truck was also his. You failed to pick up on the fact that I'm a customer at this place, and then you made the logical leap that I own this place, and then you proceed to give me advice onto how to run this place that isn't mine, and on top of that, you think that a car mechanic would pick up a washing machine, one that you left on the sidewalk. So I can also assume that you're not looking to have it fixed, but you're throwing it away. That means an auto mechanic would have even less reason to come get it, since this is in fact a mechanic shop that fixes cars. So that, ma'am, is why this is such a hassle. It took a moment for all of that to sink in, and then her face blanched, and she did something you typically only see in TV shows and in movies. She clamps a hand over her mouth in shock as it finally clicked. She then apologizes profusely, and she says, oh my god, I'm an idiot. I'm so sorry." She walked away looking mortified. Now, I do feel bad for her, but I just sat there chuckling thinking, yeah, I'm sharing this when I get home. And here I have. Listen, how on earth she even thought a car repair shop was gonna pick up and haul away a broken washing machine is beyond me. Like, even if they did offer a scrap removal service, the entitlement, right? Well, I don't see what the issue is. Why don't you just walk down the block, hoist my useless washing machine on your back, and take it to the scrapyard? Or just get one of your dumb workers to do it. Again, the entitlement of some people. Some time ago, I had a job as a runner for a crappy horror movie company. A part of my job as a runner was to go to the bank to make various deposits and withdrawals for both the company and the boss. I went to the bank almost every day, sometimes multiple times a day. The bank was also in a really upscale neighborhood, so it wasn't uncommon to see some really high-end cars in the nearby lot. At the time, I'd been at my job for about 3.5 years, which meant I had also been to this lot easily about 1,000 times. I knew a lot of the workers in the area by name, including the lot workers. I was in my mid-20s and was often in shorts, flip-flops, and a merchandise shirt from my company. We didn't have uniforms, so they gave me a ton of shirts from their movies. Now, I should also mention that I'm Hispanic with pretty dark skin. I normally wouldn't even bother mentioning that because who cares? But you know who cares? Rich, entitled people. I've seen my fair share of veiled racism and typecasting over the years. Even at that lot, I've been asked multiple times to park people's cars. Occasionally, I will get someone rude that'll snap their fingers at me, which I extremely hate, or even chuck their keys at me. That said, on this day, I was in a fairly poor mood. My company was starting to do some shady stuff and was screwing over employees. A lot of people hadn't been paid in weeks, and I was on half checks. So on my way to the bank, I buy a strawberry smoothie for lunch, as I know there was no chance I was gonna make it back to the office to eat the food I brought. I pull into the non-valet parking in the lot, and I chat with the attendant while I grab my ticket, and I start walking towards the bank. That's when I hear someone shouting, "Jose, hey, Jose." But obviously, I ignore it because my name's not Jose. I walk past the lady shouting, and that's when I feel something smack me in the back of the head, dropping my glasses. I pick up my glasses, and I turn around to see this red-in-the-face lady glaring angrily at me. I was super pissed. I looked down to see what hit me, and of course, it was her car and house keys. Like, this woman literally threw her keys at a stranger's head. She was driving some really nice Escalade that looked like it was probably fully loaded and detailed regularly. I pick her keys up and I shout, "What the F, lady?" And that's when she shouts back at me and she says, "Didn't you hear me calling you? It's your own fault for ignoring me. Park my damn car." Hearing her say that, I was absolutely dumbfounded. I tried to explain that I didn't work there, but she wasn't having it. Every time I opened my mouth, she called me something even more demeaning and racist, and threatening to get me fired. The woman started walking away, so that's when I decide, F it. I hurried up and I walked to the restaurant next door, and I shouted, "Hey, bitch." She then turned around, steaming at her ears. I then said, as calmly as I could, "I don't work there." After I said that, I dropped her keys in my half-full smoothie, and I chucked it as hard as I could in the restaurant's dumpster. Now, the look on her face when the cup exploded in pink chunks as her keys dropped into a dumpster was absolutely the frickin' best. I just walked away, flipping her off as she turned and ran back to the attendants. After I did my bank business, I went back to the lot, and I saw her shouting at the security and pointing at me. The security guard, who of course I knew, asked me what happened. I told him she threw her keys at me and started shouting obscenities, and she refused to take them back when I explained I didn't work there, and also that I threw them in my smoothie and chucked them in the trash next door. He was holding back his laughter when I finished. She tried to get him to call the cops on me, but he explained to her that she willingly gave a stranger her keys and refused to take them back, telling her that she should have taken that extra second to listen to what I was telling her. That's when she demanded that one of the workers go in the dumpster and fish her keys out, but he just pointed at a sign that said, "The law takes no responsibility for lost or stolen property." The cherry on top is he then informed her that her Escalade was blocking the traffic into the lot, and if she didn't move in 15 minutes, he would have to call a tow truck to move it. She of course didn't like that, and she let him know that through racist ranting and grandstanding. He just stood there quietly the whole time, taking it. When she was finally finished, he looked down at his watch and he told her, "You have 7 minutes, ma'am." And wouldn't you know it, she angrily trudges off towards the dumpster. We did have a good laugh about it, and he told me not to do it again. As I pulled out of the lot, I got a nice view of her in the dumpster, furiously throwing everything everywhere. The next day, one of the lot guys told me that they ended up towing her Escalade, as she couldn't find her keys. Oh well, I hope the hairdresser didn't mind her smelling like garbage. I'm also not sure about the legality of this all, and I don't think I would have been in any trouble if the police were called. She just caught me on a bad day. I don't feel the least bit sorry about what I did though. So the moral of the story is don't be racist, and also don't just give your keys to anyone like an idiot. Exactly, and she totally got what she deserved that day. And even if she did call police, I don't think she'd have much of a leg to stand on, guys. they'd probably just laugh and be like, "Now let me get this straight, lady. You assaulted this random person with your keys? And you're shocked at what they did in return and you want them arrested? The nerve of some people." This happened about 4 to 5 years ago, but I still remember it like it happened yesterday. I was walking home from my bus station to our house. You should know that I was able to walk 3 different ways home. One through a creepy side way, one way past the playground, and one past a retirement home. That day, I was using the third option to get home. The location looked like this. It was a long, maybe 300-foot path surrounded by trees and bushes. At the end of the walkway starts the property of the retirement home. It was one of those days where my mom wasn't home until an hour after I was back, so I did take it easy and walk slowly. I saw that the elders were outside, sitting and walking around the property like they do every afternoon between 12 and 3 p.m. I had my headphones in, and I was minding my own business when an elderly woman sitting on a bench reaches her hand out to get my attention. I stopped, pulled down my headphones, and she asked me really nicely if I could walk her up and down the way for a bit because she was too weak to do it on her own. Because I had nothing better to do and my mom wasn't waiting for me, I just said yes, and I helped her get up. After she got a good grip on me so she wouldn't fall, we start to walk slowly up and down for maybe 2 times, talking about school, friends, and family. I did have to repeat some things a few times because she instantly forgot almost everything I said, and that's when a woman stopped us. She was maybe 30 years old and she had a big smile on her lips. The woman shouts out, "Hey Martha," and then patted her hand. I find out that she was a good friend of Martha's children and she was living right beside the retirement home. She then says to me, "Thank you so much for taking care of Martha. You volunteer guys are really nice and helpful. Here, have some money." The woman wanted to give me $50 effing dollars, but I just stopped her and I explained I wasn't working as a volunteer. I was just coming home from school and I had some time to kill. So I thought it would be the right thing to do by helping her. The woman stares at me for a second and then she starts to laugh. She says, "Oh, I'm sorry, but really, it's really nice to know that there's actually people who are being nice for free, even though Martha was a total stranger to you." I just smiled and so did Martha, the whole time by the way. I declined the money once again before bringing Martha back to the property and going home, feeling extremely proud of myself. Now, I know that nothing wild happened and no police was called, but I thought I'd share this story with you and hopefully make someone's day. Guys, I've said this many times before, the wholesome stories are just as good as the crazy Karen stories, because it shows that there's still good people in this world. And OP not taking the $50 and just doing it out of the kindness of their own heart. What a wonderful person OP is. And that, my friends, brings us to another end of r/IDontWorkHereLady. Guys, I hope you enjoyed today's stories. If you did, hit that thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing so you don't miss these crazy, crazy stories. And if you missed the last episode on the channel, it's an r/entitledpeople episode, where psycho Karens won't stop attacking people. And the episode is so wild. Guys, go check it out if you haven't. And myself and Stevie Boy will see you guys in the next one. We love you.